So if you didn't see the first video, when I went over the documentation, I would suggest going back and looking at that first video before you do this video. If you're not comfortable with programming and this is your first time making a Visual Basic game or WPF game or making games or programming period, it'll be wise to go do that. But if you already know how to program and you just want to see how I'm doing this, then fine, you can watch this video. So you shouldn't get too confused. But basically, we're going to continue making our memory matching game with the Simpsons theme. And right now I have WPF open in Visual Studio 2017, so it's the newest one. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and start a WPF application. And I'm going to go ahead and name that application Simpsons Matching game. That's fine. When I do that, just make sure that it's saved in the whatever location that you want it saved in. Make sure the solution's name is whatever you want it to be. If you don't want it saved here, you can go ahead and browse here. Click on that browse. And when you're using this WPF template, make sure that over here you select Visual Basic if that's what you intend to use, and then select WPF. If all those things are set, go ahead and click OK. So the first thing we're going to do, especially according to our documentation, is set up our references. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on my solutions and I'm going to go to add new we're going to add a new item, and then we're going to go to resources. Right here. So we're going to select our resource files, and you can leave this if whatever you want it to be. You can change the name to images or whatever. And I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to leave mine the same. From here, I'm presented with the resource RESX file, tab, which is a file. As you can see over here, there's a file over here. But I don't need the string. What I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to go and add resources by selecting on this little arrow down here, and I'm going to put add existing files, and then I'm going to go ahead and search for the files that I'm looking for. Right now they're on the desktop. Wherever yours are, you can go ahead and search for those. So here are all the files that I have, and if you've already have yours cropped and everything, this is what you want to be able to do, is select all of these and click open, and it adds all of these to this resource file here, as you can see there. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the names exactly like they are, but the only thing I do want to change is access modifier right here. I'm going to change that to public, and that's it. And then I'm going to hit Control S to save it. And as you can see down here now in this resource folder, I have all of these files here. I have two question marks, but the only reason why I have that is because one question mark is a PNG and one is a JPEG. So I originally had a PNG here, but I converted it to a JPEG to keep it consistent with all the other images that I have here. So when I'm using it, I don't have to worry about changing the file extension when I'm coding. So I can go ahead and close that now that I have my resources. According to my documentation, let me pull that up. According to my documentation, I'm supposed to have this main page pop up. It has a start menu here. So it has a start menu here, a start button, sorry, an instructions, and an exit button. So the first thing I want to do is at least get this up here, and the way I'm figuring to put this up here is using something like a user control. And my idea, I think, for this one would be because I'm going to be switching windows all the time, I'll put all of these in one main window and then switch them depending on what's going to happen, what button was clicked. It's almost like a model view controller setup in object-oriented programming. So when in the start screen will pop up, but it will be a user control. The game screen will be a user control, and the end screen will also be a user control. The images on the inside, I'll just make those buttons or images depending on what we do, but let's get there first and then we'll see where we can go from there. So that's our documentation. So let's go ahead and we'll probably expand this window. I want this window just a little bit, I want it a little bit taller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the XAML, and I'm going to select the window right here. And as you can see, it changed the selection. Like if I were to go down here and select the grid and start moving that, that's only moving the grid, not the window itself. But when I select the top of that, it selects the window. A lot of times what I like to do, instead of selecting this over here, I like going down here to select the window, just so I can have this sort of up down from the view, from the graphical view, design view to the XAML, because that's how you have to really program and design in Visual Studio most of the time when you're using XAML or WPF. So I'm going to go ahead and expand that a little bit more, and I'm going to make that an even number. So I'm just going to say 530, let's say, for the width, and then I'm going to make this 410. And then I'm going to save it. Now, the first thing I want to do, because I added these images here, now the first thing I want to do is run this application just to see, make sure that everything's working fine and nothing's going to crash because of what I just did. Alright, so that's fine. Now let's go ahead and move forward. Now the next thing we want to go ahead and do is start making our user controls that we're going to be using inside of here. So the first user control is obvious. It would be the main start screen. And so what I'll do here is inside of my regular application in my home, no, not the main window, but just right here, my project, I want to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to hit add, and I'm going to add a new. And a lot of times you go add new item and then you find the item here. So if I go to WPF and I can find the item here, like this user control, this WPF user control. But a lot of times also they'll have it already. If I go right click again and I say add, you'll see down here it already has user control. And it already knows that you're using WPF. So it'll allow you to go ahead and just make that user control just like that without having to worry about anything. You know, selecting the proper template. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say UC for user control start screen. So this is going to be my start screen, and basically I just want to set everything up. Okay, so I'm just going to go add. Now here's my user control, and you can see how blank it is. So I want to first go ahead and change the dimensions of this. Now you'll notice down here that it has this ignorable, and it says D. That means this right here will be ignored, but this is only for the design view right here. So during design view you will see it at this size. Okay, that's just for design view. But for the actual size, that's what we want to change. We can also change the design view so we can see it properly too. So really I want to go ahead and take this height and width, and I want to go ahead and add it to my user control. So basically I just went to the main window tab, went down into the XAML and copied the height and width. Come to my user control, the one we just created, and right below or after the design I'm going to create another one. And actually I want the design one to be the same. Okay. So this is my start screen. Now all I need to do is add, I'm going to go ahead and add the image for this one. And I can go ahead and select an image here. And then I can drag that image across the user control. Once I have that image dragged across the user control, I can see it down here. And selecting that, I have that image here, but it'll be a good idea to name your image even though you're not going to use it. So I'm just going to call that the image, or yeah, IMG background. That's what I say, IMG background to the start screen. So that's the name of that, long name, but I'm not using it anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But it does help keep everything in order. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the common area, and I'm going to go ahead and add the source, and I can click on that, and you'll see all the sources, the files that we put into the pictures we put into our resources. There's something we have to change about these pictures because they won't work unless we change them, but let's see it not work first. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that start screen. You'll notice that my image does not fill up everything. It's only because I have to go down here and I have to put fill so it fills the entire image, the image that I have down here. And so I can hit save, and according to my documentation, I'm supposed to have some buttons here. So I have a start button, instructions, and an exit button. So I can go ahead and put those there. So I'm going to go ahead and add the buttons here. And I'm going to make one button, and I'm going to style that button first the way I want it to be styled. And you notice this color may not be the same color as that. So if I go down, if I select the brush and I go to the background here, and then I go down here and use this little color picker right here, I can select over the area that I want it to look like that, and then I can get that same color there. From there, what I can do is go to the text and make it bold, and then make it just a little bit bigger. Well, that's pretty big. And then I can go into now the common area, and I can change the content to start. So it's starting to look like our documentation here. Let's see. We have a start, instructions, and exit. Okay. So actually, I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. Now that I have the design of the button the way I want it, now I can go ahead and copy that. And then I can just change the start here. I can do that here, or I can do it down here. As you can see, the content down here is accessible, and so instead of start and exit. So it's up to you. You can do it either way, from here or from the properties panel. So now that we have our main menus here, we're going to go ahead and make the next user control. And the next user control would be the game screen. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make sure I save this, and I'm going to make sure I run this just to test and see if anything went wrong. So that this is correct because this is the main window. We're going to throw that user control up in there when we're done with making the user controls. So I'm going to go ahead and make the next user control exactly the same way I made this one. So I'll do it again just so we can see how it works. So I'm going to right click on my project. I'm going to go add, and I'm going to go down here to user control. I'm going to change the name of this user control. I'm going to change the name of that to UC game screen. So, and I'm going to hit add. I'm going to do the same thing I did before with this user control by taking this height and width, and I'm going to add it to here. And then I want this height and this width on the design also. Then I'm going to save that. Now what I can go ahead and add the background the same way I did before. So I'm going to go ahead and select an image box. Select that image box, drag it. Once I do that, I can go to the source, and then I can find the image that I want, and I think the image I want is let's see. Right here. Yeah, that's the image I want. Then I'm going to go here and I'm going to say fill. Let me make sure that's the image I want. Yeah, that's the image I want in the background. I'm going to hit save. Now, I am going to dynamically add the. I've decided to dynamically add these boxes in here instead of adding boxes up in here manually, because I'll have more control over them, especially if I'm going to be doing all of my processing into another window. And that's the main issue, because all of these will exist in one big giant main window. You see, here's my main window right here. They'll all exist inside of there. So anytime something is clicked or added, it has to go through the main window. That's why I want to do these by code. I want to have these developed by code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a grid with these in there. And the great thing is that when I look at my XAML, I already have a grid. Everything's automatically put in a grid. I'm just going to go ahead and name this grid. So I'm going to put name, and I'm going to put this as my grid, like that. Oops. There we go. Now, the cool thing about the grid is that we can go ahead and add columns and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few columns and rows. So I'm going to make this to where I have one here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just dragging my mouse right on the line up here until I get that yellow, that orange looking column slash, yeah, that column slash row sort of thing going on. I think that would be good. And then something like this, because I'm not going to use the top row. Wait a minute. There we go. So I'm not going to use the top row. I'm going to use this row here, and then this row here. There we go. And as you can see, as I was doing that, I could have actually typed this out, but as I was doing that, look at the XAML that it wrote down here for me for defining the rows and the columns. So that's pretty good. Okay, so this user control is pretty much set. Now the other idea I had was when the user hits the instructions, that's also, I wanted that to also be a user control that's added on the main screen. So the instructions button will open up a user control, and that's kind of the idea behind that. And that user control could be used for a lot of different things, including the score screen. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. Alright, so again, I'm going to pretty much, not pretty much, I'm going to exactly do the same thing. Add here, use control. You guys should already have this down by now. And then I'm going to go ahead and do instruction. UC. Okay, so I'll have my UC instructions here. I'm going to hit add. And then this one doesn't have to be the same height and width. It might help if you really want to put things in precise position on the main window, but for this one it's not really that big a deal. Basically what I want in this one is text block. And the reason why I'm using a text block is because it's meant to have multi-line. So I'm going to use a text block here. And in this text block, really what I want, and I'm keeping it down here because I know when it loads into the main screen, this part's going to be on top, this part's going to be on the bottom. So I just want to keep everything down here for now. I know for a fact that this text block is going to be over the main image. So really I want some kind of background to this, some style to it. So the background brush for the text block, I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a color. I'm going to add something that looks like the yellow. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down to maybe like 45, and that's going to be the transparency. I can even bring it down to something like yeah, 40 should be good. And then the text, what I want to do is, I don't want the text to be black. What I want to do with the text is make it a different color. I do want it to be bold, and I want it to be a little bit bigger than 12, so I'm going to make it 14. That should be okay. Yeah. And then I'm going to go here to the brush, and then I'm going to go to the foreground. Instead of that being black, I'm going to make that white. So that should work. And the foreground is always going to be the text. Now I want to go ahead and take the text that's in there out. So I'm going to go to the common, and I'm going to take the text in there out. And I'm going to name this text block that's in here. I'm going to name that txt instruction. Now I want a way to be able to close this user control. So what I'm going to do is add a button here. I'm going to drag this button over here, and I don't really need this to say close. I want it to look like, you know, just the X button, the X. So I'm going to go up in here and I'm going to change the content to X, something like that, and then I can change the brush. If you notice, we're doing the same thing over and over again, right? So I can change the brush to something. Actually, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be something like that. There we go. And then I can make it bold. Go to my text. Make it bold. And make it just a little bit bigger. And I can manually type that in there. Alright, so we're well on our way. Let's see what we have next. Now all we have is the "Are you ready for level 2?" And I'm thinking about making this out of a regular user control, or using a user control I already have. Or actually what I can do is, whatever the next level is, I can use that background for this one, so that way I can just throw an image on top of that. We have a lot of different ways we can approach this. So what I'm thinking of is making another user control of the next level with that information on top. So when the next level appears, that information can disappear, and then the next level will start. Let me just do it so I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to make a user control. Add new user control, and I'm going to call this user control UC next level. And this one actually I do want to be the same size as these other user controls. So basically I'm just going to go here, and I do this so I don't make any silly mistakes. So I'm just going to take this part right here, down here, just copy that, and open up my next level, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. There we go. And now what I need to do is, again, I'm going to take an image, and I'm going to use that as the background, and I'm up here in the toolbox and I'm searching for image. If you do that, just be aware that when you go back here, clear that out, so that way it doesn't only show the image part. Okay. So I can go ahead and drag this out to the length and the height of the user control, and then again go down here to the common and change the source. Nope, not that one. Level 2 right there. That's good. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and make this fill, and then I'm going to save all that. And because this is the next level, I'm going to use this also to ask them if they want to go to the next level. So I'm going to go ahead and make a text box a label that I'm going to be able to use to be able to distribute information, to show information about the last level that they were in, and to ask them if they want to go to the next level. So I go ahead and create this label. I want this label to have some background. I don't want it to be clear, so I'm going to do like this, and actually I'm going to get that color right there. And then again with the text, you guys have seen this before, so I can go ahead and change the foreground color to white. Oh no, that probably be hard to see. I'll keep it as black. Alright, and then I'm going to make it bold, and then I'm going to make it 14, just like all the other ones. They just keep that consistency going. And I don't want anything in there. And I will name this one. This will be my score. So this will be LBL score. Alright, and then I'm going to make one that's going to be a message. So I'm going to keep this here. I'm going to copy this and paste it. And I'm going to expand this out. Now what I'm doing here is I'm holding down Alt to expand in both directions simultaneously. And this one will be called, as you can see, it made another label down here. But this label will be called LBL message. And now I want another one, so I'm going to copy that, paste it. Actually, no, that's all we need. We just now need the buttons. So because I already have a button the way I like it, I think I do. Yeah, so here are the buttons. So I'm going to copy that button. And I'm going to bring it over here. Since it already has the style that I want, I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to copy that over here. And I'm going to say, actually, but I do want this text to be a little bit smaller. But as you can see, I already have the color and everything set in this button. All I got to do from here is just change the name. And this will be BTN start. And because I'm going to be having this window jump into the main window, I don't want this to be called just BTN start in case there's another BTN start that I need to be able to code to in the main window. So I'm going to call this BTN start next level. Or I could have called it next level BTN start, but you get the point. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that. And actually, I didn't mean this to be start. I meant this to be yes. BTN yes. Alright, and then I need to change this to yes. Because when you look at our form here, it says yes or no there. So I want this to say yes here. And the other one should say no. And this one should be called BTN no next level. Alright, so it looks like we have all our user controls set. So all we need to do now is start coding. Alright, so in the next video, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start coding everything that we set up.